Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Feeling and Healing Podcast. I am your host, Danielle Z, MFT in the making, motivator, and mental health maven. And today I am so happy to welcome Dr. Sarah Nasir. She is an addiction doctor from California, and she specializes in a holistic approach to addiction recovery, focusing on dimensions of balance. So, welcome, Sarah. Dr. Sarah, I'm so happy to have you here.
Hey Danielle, thank you so much for having me on your show and a warm welcome and hello to the audience who's tuning in and to the show again and hearing me for the first time. It's an honor and I'm really excited. Looking forward to creating this episode to be a special one in your day today.
Yeah, so we'll just kick it off because we were just talking a little pre-recording conversation. Since you're like you focus on balance in the addiction recovery world, but in just general, I think, you have such a good insight and expertise around the dimensions of balance, and I would love to hear more about the six dimensions of balance that you created. But in this chaotic world where we always have our phones on us. There's always a notification. There's always something we need to do. There's a show. There's a breaking piece of news. How do we, just as society and people, maintain balance in this crazy world we live in?
Yeah, great question, Danielle. And yes, I really have been enjoying thoroughly our conversations
Yes.
pre-recording, not just right before this session, but in our introduction too. You are a wonderful person to speak with. I love how we vibe and how
Yes.
much we have in common when it comes to approaching the world in a holistic manner. So I think it really vibes and really we what's the word I'm looking for? We feed off of each other's energy. So coming to this question about the balance, it's a really deep question, and it's such a common topic is how do you maintain balance in modern world? And I think it really comes down to understanding the law of nature in many ways. And as you have mentioned, I'm a medical doctor, particularly osteopathic physician, so that homeostasis, balance, holistic health is part of my day one of training, where we had to learn the four tenets of osteopathy. And before that, I was a student and I used to work in engineering. So I got to understand the way that systems work, that is developed, closed loop system, how force and goes from one place to the other, how energy translates. Physics was huge part, and then had to learn calculus that I've forgotten most of right now. So the reason I'm saying that is I'm laying a foundation for what I'm about to go to
Absolutely.
after next. In this stage of my life, in addition to having those experiences built into my skills, now I'm also doing coaching. In the sixth dimension that you talk about, it's actually what I call the six dimensions, the t six transcendent dimensions,
Okay.
because I believe we all have been created for some unique and powerful purpose. And it is the responsibility and it for all of us to tap into that I like to call it the cellular energy, the battery inside of us that feeds our soul to keep going forward. And the way that it's done is when you connect with yourself, you connect with your higher power, you know what your purpose is, and you start to live it. It becomes like you're a sunflower sitting in the sun. Using modern technology, it's like you're a solar panel sitting in the sun, soaking up the energy, channeling it forward, and producing the fruits and the buds that benefit the others. So, the place where the six dimensions come into play is we all struggle in learning who we are. All
Mhm.
struggle with learning how we fit into the world, the time that we're living in. Um, as well as not only discovering the outside, but discovering ourselves inside. Majority of us don't take the time to explore our own realms. We do that when we're babies. The babies, they discover their hands for the first time, and you'll see often them trying to get their thumb into their mouth, and instead of doing that, they'll just go like this instead, because they haven't figured out what their hand is, what distance is, and how far to modulate it. That's where we are discovering ourselves. As we get older, we fall into cadence, systems, routines, then we become less exploratory within ourselves. We start to explore the world outside of us and then keep moving forward, doing the pattern again and again. Less energy spent exploring and discovering new frontiers in your daily lives, and more methodological person that comes in more, you know what to expect from the next action. So that's the pattern that starts to settle in. And once you have a pattern established, it becomes easier to go through that path. And that's basically, I'm talking about habit. And if you do the right habit, it helps you continue to grow. If you have habits that are not helping you grow, it can become a destructive habit like addiction, and then you fall into what I'm a visual person, so I like to say like in a hole and you just keep going down.
Mm-hmm.
And that can impact your health, not just physical, but your mental, psychological,
Absolutely.
social, etc. So, coming back to the six dimensions of a transcendent, these are the dimensions that I've added on to the osteopathic dimensions that I had to learn. So, the first one is body, second one is mind, then it's spirit, then it's social, financial, and aspirational. And what I've found in my personal journey, not only just going through my daily life, but interacting with other patients, interacting with scenarios like family, friends, strangers, new friends, um, the world, chaos,
Yeah.
harmony, all of this in general. What I'm finding is that one of the most exciting parts of being us is learning how to balance these dimensions. And the thing about balance is that it can change with time because your parameters can change. Now, going back to the thing I was talking about, math and calculus, is we
Mhm.
all have formulas that we try to follow. That is the pattern that is easy to do. Once you figure out what you got to put in to get what out, it becomes easy. That's the formula defined. But the formula operates within boundaries, and the boundaries change with the different stage of life you're in, the external circumstances you are in. And so, as the boundaries change, so does your balance, your midpoint. And so, what worked for generations before us, now bringing this into philosophical lifestyle of who we are, from math to life. Um, the scenarios, the boundaries, the specifications of our ancestors before, or people who are in other parts of the world from us, or the progenies that are going to come after us. Their boundaries are going to be looking different. It's about
Mhm.
figuring out how to find balance for your time, for your objectives, for your purpose, um, and balancing that. I think we live in a very short attention span time
Yes,
compared to,
absolutely. Yeah.
right? Compared to our ancestors before, where they had their day like started with the light and ended with the
Mhm.
sundown. Now we have light and electricity that allows us to continue being more productive.
Mhm.
We can take it in a negative manner or we can take it in a positive manner. If you take it in a negative manner, you can say, oh, we're just always on the phone, never untethered. The phone is always ringing, the computer is always ringing. That's one of the downsides of having this light all the time, electricity all the time. But you can also look at it in a positive way. That means your hours of operation just got expanded.
Mhm.
It's up to you how you choose to um, delegate your energy, what operations you pursue in. If one of those operations is making time to be with your kids, then you have more time, more hours in the day. You can say, I'm going to spend some time discovering myself, giving myself some time. Now you have that capacity increased as well. So how do we find balance in this day and age? Um, it starts with understanding what our needs are, learning to listen to ourselves again, realizing what gives us energy and what takes away energy, and finding that balance in between. And I found that once you do it in the six different dimensions, it's easier when you can categorize things and you
Yes,
don't need
kind of
to
bucket
be
them. Yeah.
exactly, and you don't need to beat yourself up over it.
Yes. Oh no, and I love that you categorize them in separate kind of silos because you're right, it's easier to digest. And also too it also it organizes your life because if you look at yourself and you're like, where do I start? What do I do? So it gives you some sort of direction. And I also love that you mentioned self-discovery because I think that is the first step in finding your balance. Because if you don't know yourself, and as you said, what you need and what gives you energy and what takes energy away from you, and also too, for everybody listening, and I'm sure you know from clients and patients you've worked with, same with me, that like it takes time to determine that, to define that, and it's kind of like a what is the word I'm trying to say? It's like a te like, kind of like you're testing yourself all the time. It's like you're trying to figure that out. So you're gonna have to you're gonna try and you're gonna be like, oh well, that gives me energy, and then this maybe like doesn't, or maybe one time it does. So you're kind of in this constant like experimentation. That's what I was talking about. Experimentation of like what gives you energy at what phase of life you're in.
Yeah. And it's really exciting if you have that adventurous side of you because, people try to get their names written by discovering frontiers that nobody has been to, be it new land, new technology, space, ocean. But I think we often forget to pioneer the most fascinating discovery out there waiting to be done, which is you. And
I love that you
especially,
said that. I had a feeling you were gonna say that. And I was like, I think I know where she's going with this. And I was like, I'm 100% agree with you.
I'm glad you're in agreement because since I've started on this journey of self-discovery, not only understanding what works for me and what doesn't in terms of energy, but also in terms of, how I think, how I grow. What are my different processes of, discriminating between what I have in front of me being good for me versus not being good for me. That discernment, that's a skill
Oh,
set.
one of my well, sorry, you're sorry. I also do believe like the universe and just energy. And you're like, I was literally just thinking about this prior to, sorry, I had to interrupt you. I
No,
was
no,
literally
go.
just thinking about this prior to the podcast recording. I remember I was like just in the bathroom, like washing my hands, and I was just like, yeah, like, and I was like actually telling myself, I was like, Danielle, you're getting better at this discernment thing. And it's so funny you said
Right?
that.
Yes. No, as I said, we're vibing because we think around that same thing.
Yes, that
And you know
same,
what that shows is that there's a truth to it. You know,
absolutely.
we never met before.
No.
We have grown independently in our own axis, in our own pathways, and here we come. And we start to see this commonality. And then when you start to see it emerge in different areas, then that becomes a pattern. And a pattern established eventually becomes a law. So I feel like this is one of the laws of human growth is
Absolutely.
that, that you need that ability to know when to discern which one of your thoughts are accurate, correct, real, and
Mm,
which one of your thoughts are made up but hypothetical, and which one of your thoughts are absolutely unrealistic and not good. So once you know your boundaries, then
yes.
you can increase your capacity, and then you can understand how to interact with the other person on the other side. And that's another way you take balance because
Absolutely. And you
people need
just
your
said,
energy.
absolutely. And you just said some, it's so funny. I'm like, I just knew, I was like, this is just the synchronicity here is amazing. Because as I was driving home today from my internship site where I seeing therapy clients, I was thinking about that, your boundaries. And I was thinking about how we always think, and I think we're taught in our culture, and I study boundaries. I've talked to a lot of people about boundaries. I've been working on boundaries my whole adult life. I struggle with them, I will say, like most people. But
Yeah.
a lot of my boundaries are actually, I was kind of categorizing them or compartmentalizing them into internal boundaries and then external boundaries. So it's like my internal boundaries are, and I'll give you a little example, but we were talking about our phones before, and I tell people this all the time. My phone is on Do Not Disturb probably 90% of the time. And it's not personal. It's just I work in a field that I'm with people. I'm on phone calls a lot. I'm in sessions. With clients, so I can't have my phone going off. I'm professional. But also too, another internal boundary I set for myself is the only notifications live on my phone are like phone calls, FaceTime, and my calendar. So that's when I don't get notifications when somebody posts like comments on something on Instagram. So it kind of keeps me like I practice a little bit more self-control and restraint. So I'm not looking at my phone all the time.
Yeah. And I love that you have figured out what you need to
Yes.
maintain your energy, you know.
Yes.
And then the amount, like you have not turned everything off. You
No,
know
no,
what
yeah,
you
the
can
important
handle.
things, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I
And
want, of
then,
course I want phone calls to come through. And even I will say even text messages like and as I was telling you before, we got on the call on our podcast, I have a computer where my ev basically is my phone. So
yeah,
it's always in front of me at some point. So I was just like, I don't want to be a slave to my
yeah,
devices.
yeah. And I do that when I'm sleeping. Like I don't turn my phone off completely, but I will put it on silent. I will
Hmm.
put it on sleep
Yes,
mode.
yes, exactly. Do not
Yeah,
disturb or whatever.
and
Yeah.
there are times where I do that. And then other times it will be like a market on my phone. I
Yeah.
do have like, I think I have a little bit more stamina probably than you when it comes to handling stimulation, I guess. I have a little bit of that ADHD brain, so I can handle stimulations a little bit more. And also to be aware of what's happening, because the way that I've learned is that if it doesn't pop up in my face, I will forget it. So then to be
I'm the
mindful
same.
of, you know,
Honestly, I think we're cut from the same cloth because I always say this. My ongoing joke these days is that my to-do list is as long as a CVS receipt. That like I'm like it just it could keep going like it's so long. But
yeah,
I'm actually very old school. Like I literally have like a notebook, like a planner. Like I write things down a lot, so that helps me too. But and that's just for me. Like I discovered what works best for me, and what works
exactly.
for me might not work for you. I get it. I'm kind of old school, but when I
Yeah,
feel like I take the time to write it down, I remember it better, or like,
definitely.
and I know
Definitely.
that's
Because
so
you
old school, like everybody
it's engaging more of your senses, so it's
senses
activating more
exactly.
parts of your brain. But I totally agree with you. What works for you works some maybe different for somebody else. Like for example, like I am somebody who is I think made for this time because before we had the iPads
Yeah.
and or like the handheld devices. I used to carry like books in my backpack and they were
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
heavy. And I'm like, why can't we just all have it in
Having
one?
everything in one. Yeah.
One, and then that's all I have to carry. I hate carrying backpacks. And lo and behold, give it a decade or two, now I am only laptop and phone. That's it. Like I will
Exactly. Yeah.
rarely write things down, and I love it that way. So it
No, yeah.
comes back to that thing that I was talking about, like, the formula, they
Mm,
require boundaries to operate
absolutely.
within. And
Absolutely.
and so what my boundaries are within which I operate and function well may be different from yours. And at the same time, we may actually have, the very fundamental basics of life that need to operate in that same standard. For example, when I talk with my patients with addiction and I'm telling them just today, like my last patient, he was mentioning that he doesn't want to go up on his dose that I'm giving him on the medicine because there's so much stigma. People think if you take the treatment, the medicine we use for opioid use disorder heavily in my clinic is methadone.
Okay.
It's a pure opioid on its own for the listeners who may not be familiar with it. It is the treatment we use to replace the chemical and close the chemical gap for patients who have been using illicit opioids like fentanyl, heroin, etc. Right? So many of my patients, this is probably one of my commonly heard phrases like, I don't want to go too high. I want to stop
Mhm.
here. And I'm like, that's funny because deciding what dose you need is my job. That's what I went to school for. Now
I
I'm
love
going
it.
out and I'm saying it. It's like,
Yeah, it's like,
you
yeah,
know,
it's like that. Yeah, that's and it's like, oh, did you want to put MD against next to your name?
no, which is fine if you want to, because there are a lot of MDs and DOs who also don't understand this concept. So, I've found that this fixation on how high this treatment should be is not just in the people who don't understand the science behind how this works. It's also in humans who understand the science behind how this works. So, what I was telling my patient is that our job is to restore the balance in your body.
Hmm.
And if I'm not going to do it with this carefully regulated medicine, using my knowledge that I have had to learn and the school I had to go through, um, if we don't do it safely this way, your body will force you to go do it in a way that you
It's
have
like
access
maybe
to.
not healthy or
And for the most part, this type of medicine, you will not find it in a safe manner.
no, no, I can only imagine. I mean, and I don't know the level of, or what's the science behind every, chemical in what you were prescribing. But yeah, I mean, I can just imagine the unhealthy kind of coping mechanisms or materials you could find out there to get the same effect.
Yeah, and as I was saying, like this patient and other patients, though they go to the street. Yesterday, I was talking with a patient. She thought she was using heroin, but when I told her what was in her urine, I'm like, I didn't know fentanyl was in there. I
Oh,
didn't know
she's lucky
codeine
that
was in there.
she's
I didn't
lucky
know
that yeah,
morphine was in there.
yeah.
So that, the folks that are selling you things on the street when there's no regulation, ethics is the only thing that's guiding them. And if they're selling you that stuff in the first place, I don't know how
You have to
much they care
question,
about.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, coming back to the concept of balance, like our body has a need for balance as well.
Mhm. As you said,
And
homeostasis. I love that you said
homeostasis,
that because as a family therapist in training, that is what we want our systems and our families and our individuals to be in a state of homeostasis.
yes. And so, going back to that addiction and health talk, if the state of disease is when the body has deviated from the normal operating threshold, the normal balance. When you move away from balance, that's when the disease starts. So, to bring back balance, people will either have to restore their lifestyle that will support that healthy living, and sometimes you need to add supplements, like the way that I'm
Yeah.
using these medicines to guide them back. In diabetes, it's insulin. In high blood pressure, it's a blood pressure medicine.
Hmm.
Somebody who clots a lot, it's an anticoagulant. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's it's all constantly that, yin and yang, the feng shui of the body, bringing things
Yes,
together
yes,
into
yes.
balance. So that's how I approach not only the treatment of my patients, but life in general. And you gotta give yourself what your body needs, what you need to thrive within your boundaries. And if it's different for different people, it's
Hmm.
different for
Yep,
each single
exactly.
body. And so it's learning to appreciate also that uniqueness that is required while also appreciating the mass data that allows us
Yeah.
to achieve that balance as well.
And also kind of the mass messaging, right? Like as you said perfectly, like you are so unique and you are, I always say to my clients, like you are your most lucrative asset. You are the best project you will ever work on. Like you matter. You know what I mean? Like I don't care money, businesses, like you were brought into this earth for a reason. And I just love that you said that because but also too but we're fed from a societal level from a new like kind of mass messaging that like one size fits all when we're all so unique, and I find that so interesting because of course there's so many theory obviously behind it, capitalism, marketing, what have you, but I always think it's good to remind yourself of that, like you know yourself best. Like every expert can say something to you like, "Oh, I do this," but if it doesn't work for you, like I'll be perfectly honest, like I don't which my whole life and I've tried. I've really tried, Dr. Sarah. I have tried. I've really tried to go to the gym my whole life. I have. I am just not a gym person. I would rather get my exercise through walking just outside, even at home. Like I just have this and it doesn't work for me. Like, and I've learned that, and I'm like I accept it and I find alternative ways that work for me to get physical activity.
Yeah. I love a few things you said, and I also want to follow up on some of the other things you said. The one that I really loved you mentioned was you are your most precious project,
Yeah,
basically,
your
at the end of
greatest
the day.
project you'll ever work on. Yeah.
I love that. I love the way you put it. It's absolutely true. You mentioned something near the end of you know yourself the best. And my thought to that is I hope you know yourself the best because I feel like I didn't know myself. And that's when I needed to go on a self-discovery process because until I did that, it was easier for me to believe what others thought of me.
Mm.
And it doesn't always mean a good thing, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, just because people say you are great and you actually need to improve yourself in that area leaves you deficient in some ways. And in an area where you're actually good and people are doubting you, or you believe that you're made to do something, you need to do something, and other people are putting their hesitation on you and keeping you in that situation, if you don't know who you are, what your capacity is, then you are not going to grow, you're not going to transcend, you're not going to evolve. Then the world misses out on that. And the last thing I wanted to mention is that you know, we may be unique individuals, but put us together, we build something bigger. So the
Hmm.
balance of something bigger does also come down to how we show up, how we get along with each other. So we all have our own lights, our own vibrations, and we impact the others around us, just like particles impact each other's
Absolutely.
energy, right? And so it's not just a balance in our own individual level, it's a balance that we create in the world in a larger grand scheme of things. We're just, as they say, like we're a small part of something big.
Well, as I so, and I love that. And I before you were talking, I could just tell you're like a systemic thinker. And as I said, MFT, a marriage and family therapist in the making, we are systemic thinkers. And and I'm sure you've heard this saying before. It's very common, but we are from the belief that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. So that's what I stand by when I even look at people. Like you as a whole is, or a system or a society or community as a whole, it's greater than the one little thing.
Yeah.
But
I'm
I
just
would also too, I'm
thinking
very
about
curious because you mentioned it. And if you don't feel comfortable answering this question, but I'm sure you will because it's not nothing to be scared about. But what kind of triggered your path to self-discovery?
yeah. Yeah, I have no issues talking about this. I think it's my origin story. I love listening to origin stories,
Yes.
but I'm still struggling to put it in like small world because I feel like there's still that discovery happening
Well,
still,
I mean,
like at that
discovery, yeah, it's,
moment.
it's evolving, right? Like you're always,
Yeah.
like if you're if you've devoted yourself to growth and and this living in this world, like you're always going to kind of be rediscovering
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is, the Big Bang happened only once, but we're still learning about like
I know
so much that
we're
goes
learning
into
something new all the time.
it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like it's kind of like my Big Bang, like I'm still exploring things light years later. But the thing that I think really catalyzed my journey was being post C-section.
Okay.
Yeah, this was my second baby. There were years of just running, running, running before that, trying to finish residency, moving from one place to another. Uh, I experienced some events in my, earlier lives that I think was just compounded, didn't take the time to slow down and heal, or didn't know that I could, or I needed to. Like I had not
Yeah.
much of that cognizance of myself. Um, and so come to when my son was born, there were some career changes. I had moved out of a position of having to work in a very stringent environment where I couldn't say anything because I had to fulfill my National Health Service Corps obligations. I got the scholarship in medical school to pay for my schooling, which I'm
Amazing.
really, really grateful
That's
for.
amazing. You should be
Yes,
very proud of yourself for that because
thank
that
you.
is,
I'm more so than proud. I'm very grateful. for that opportunity. I feel like it was a win-win opportunity because I got my education paid for while I got to serve a community that I wanted to serve, which is the underserved community.
Mhm.
And that's why I was one of the reasons I was in DC, and I had to
Yeah,
continue that when I was in California as well. But the systems of operation when it comes to healthcare is so broken. It's
they are.
so
Oh my gosh, they are.
it drains you. It knows only how to take, and if you can't give, it will toss you to the side. You know, it's a very toxic environment when it's not operated properly on. And I think everybody is so trained to like fit into that toxic system. I'm just overusing the word toxic here. I loved
No,
every bit of
but
the work
no,
that I
I mean, it's an accurate adjective to use for this. I mean, it's very accurate. Yeah.
Yeah, it drains your energy. It takes your
Yeah.
energy away. When you come home, you're miserable. You lose the joy of saving lives, being there to touch another human, heal another human being. It all becomes about bureaucratic stuff. Like, are the notes done? Are the
Yes.
labs closed? It's weekend. Why aren't you checking your labs? And like, I wasn't in my contract, even if it was. Why should I? Like, why
Yeah,
should was it in the
yeah.
contract in the first place? So, there was that. So I moved out of that type of work environment into my current job, which I love, and I tell them until you kick me out, I'm sticking around,
I
basically.
love it.
Yeah. So there was that. I finally felt like I was relaxing. I didn't have that stress, but my body still kept score. It didn't let go, right?
Mm.
And so come down to having my baby, and I had to get so much fluids. It felt like I felt foreign in my own body. Like when I take a look at my picture from the first day we came home holding my baby boy, my feet were like this big. Each foot was this big. And that when I would lay down, it would basically come back and it would make it difficult for me to breathe. It just felt really tight.
Yeah.
My legs were very, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, it just didn't feel comfortable. And then
Mm.
before I had kids, I was scared about having kids. I think he heard me talking about him. He's coming to say he wants something from here.
It's okay. Your kids are more than welcome to come and join. Oh,
Okay, great.
he knew you were talking about him.
He came to get it. Give me one
Yeah, no,
second. Let
no,
me
it's
get the
totally
freaking
fine.
stuff.
Yeah.
Here we go. There we go. All right, I
Can I
need you
take
to.
it to the bed?
Yes, you can take it to the bed, but
We were just talking about you.
yeah, he's a force of energy for sure.
That's amazing.
I can go on and on about him another day. But
Yeah.
yes, coming back to that experience, before I had kids, I felt nervous about having
Mm.
kids.
I think that's a very normal feeling, common
Yeah.
feeling.
Yeah, like I would hear stories about like how my parents could play out in the streets, nobody would hurt them, and now I'm like I can't even trust the people keep around my kids because I see a lot of trauma cases. I hear a lot of trauma cases, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I've experienced what's the word like sexual harassment myself, and I think majority of the women have. And now
Which is
in
so
this day and
awful.
age,
Yeah, which is
after
so
hearing the
awful.
Epstein files, like I don't know
Yes.
if I heard about that before, I don't know if I would have had kids, right?
Yeah, no, no, yeah, no, and I think that's all. I forget the statistic, but there has. I mean, I think it's like definitely over 50. Please, I don't quote me. I don't want. Maybe I'll look it up before we leave the show. But that like I think it's over 50% of women have been in some form sexually harassed in their lives. Like that is atrocious.
I think that's only the reported number.
Well, exactly. That's the only
Yeah.
reported one.
Yeah, the data
Yeah,
is only as
exactly.
good as it is recorded.
Exactly, exactly. So
Yeah.
yeah, no, for sure. I'm sorry that you experienced that. But yeah, no, that's a huge fear or all this conditioning that we have before having
Yeah.
children and these fears. So totally very valid.
And so those were some of the reasons. And then that's just that. But then put in like global warming,
Mm. All the
extinction.
other things that are the world, yeah,
Yeah,
the state of the
microplastics,
world.
everything. And I'm like, do I really want to bring new souls and humans into this world that's just
Definitely.
like set for like the gutter, basically, to be flushed down the toilet?
I know, right?
So basically, that night, all these thoughts just came rushing through, along with like, if I had a magic wand, if I could do anything I wanted, what would I do to stop these things? And then it just was like, I can't take this anymore. I haven't slept. I have to nurse my baby in a little bit. I'm hurting everywhere. Like nobody talks about this, but when you start breastfeeding, your breasts hurt and
Oh
your
yes,
nipples
yeah,
get
yeah. I mean,
chapped.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's not fun.
It is not a yeah, it's not an enjoyable experience.
Yeah, there's nothing sexy about it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah,
And so I was hurting like in every part of those bodies where that is part of delivering a baby, nurturing a baby, like
yeah.
at
I
the
mean, no,
top,
and
at the
you had a
bottom.
C-section, so that was even more,
That was harder than like, yeah, my first baby, I had a big tear, and so I couldn't sit up to feed her because, if I sat up, it was like that hurts down there.
yeah,
And I think
absolutely. No, yeah, like I mean, if you think this part, like a little being, which lovely, but it's like tearing apart your whole body. I mean, it's not. Yeah, it takes
the being
recovery.
is not tearing apart my whole body. It's the process of
The
life,
process,
the
yes,
way
the
it
process
goes,
at which we're
right?
extracting it. You're right.
Yeah,
You're
so
right.
I have no anger towards them. I'm
Oh no,
grateful
no,
for
no.
them. But it can, I've heard people like talk about motherhood in ways that I'm like, you know, it's painful. It's like I don't want to undermine it, but I also don't want to speak it in a negative way neither. It's just like what happens. Sorry,
Yeah.
pardon. Fine, I'm in a meeting.
No, no, it's totally fine.
Okay, go, but I'm in a meeting. You guys need to give me
Totally
30 more
fine.
minutes, okay? Can you close the door? Thank
I love
you.
it.
Thank you.
I have a sixth sense. They're like they're talking about us.
Yes, yes, cut it out. This is not one of the reasons why I didn't have kids. It's like I didn't even know that they can come and interrupt my meetings and podcasts. So I'm sorry. I think this is carrying out longer because I keep getting distracted.
Don't worry about it.
Um,
Totally fine.
Long story short, that was the night that I feel like I hit the boiling point. It just went, and I'm like, God, you have to either stop giving me these ideas or you gotta help me do something with it.
Mm.
And God has not stopped giving me ideas. So I think
You,
that's when
yeah.
the awakening happened.
Mm.
And then a Muslim scholar that had a huge impact in my life passed away. He was only 11 years older than me. It just impacted me significantly. And I
Mm.
think that's when my dawn started, my
Mm.
journey to transformation started. And I'll stop there. I know we just kept
Oh,
going on and
oh no, no, but I know
on.
I loved hearing because so I found a common pattern, and talking about patterns again, in people in their journey of to self-discovery or awakening, and it often is the catalyst to it is often something like unfortunately like very painful or very just transformative. Like it's not like oh when somebody woke up one day and they're like I am going to change today. Like it's something that ta actually hate to say like takes them to like rock bottom. Like for me, I'll share um my mother passed away when I was in my mid 20s and like that shook me. And I had to heal from it, but then I kind of had to discover who I was without this amazing figure in my life, and that's when I kind of really started the inner work. And I struggled with unfortunately depression and anxiety from that it kind of triggered that. So I like in my 20s was a little tumultuous when it came to like my mental health. But that's when I started seeing a therapist. That's when I really got to understand my body and like it changed my life. I mean, I changed careers similar to I know you were a civil engineer. We have very similar stories. I changed my life to become a coach and become a therapist to help people where I was because I never want anybody to be in that situation.
They're powerful. I appreciate you sharing that.
Of course, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, and I will say even the me changing my career, like that took like I was in corporate America and once again, let's talk about a environment that is toxic. I hate to there's no other word for it. My body told me no. Like at the end of my corporate career, I wasn't sleeping. Like I was ignoring all the signals. And then till literally like my body shut down. Like I had to actually like go on a disability leave because like I wasn't, yeah, as I said, I wasn't sleeping. I fell into like a deep, deep depressive episode and like got, of course, got help, got out of it. But I pushed myself to that last, like you know, to that last, we pushed ourselves to the limit. And that's another thing too. I think you mentioned it, forgive me, in your conversations, but it's almost like people need permission to like do, it's like we shouldn't be pushing ourselves till we're at the breaking point. And it's like, why do we need to give ourselves permission to do what we need to do prior to that?
Yeah. I think it's because of the way we get trained as we are, we are coming into the world, kicking, crying, screaming, focused solely on ourselves. And then to fit into society, we're trained to like look for permission,
Hmm.
pay attention around us. I think there is a wisdom in it, but while we learn that, we're taught to unlearn the other stuff. But I
Yes.
think after a certain point, we need to relearn how to tap back into our innateness that is so
Hmm.
raw, so open when we're a baby. It's important for the maturity and the regulation of an adulthood, but too much of it takes away the creativity, takes away the sense of discovery and joy. And then we become a different type of sad. Um, Taking that back to what you were saying about corporate America and earlier capitalism. So these are some of the new things that I'm thinking about is all these systems at the end of the day, they exist because there is some positive attributes in it.
Yeah.
They fill some sort of needs in us. That's why they exist. And it's when it starts to cross into the boundaries that takes more energy from us to sustain it than it gives back to us, you know, that's when it starts to become toxic. Because
Hmm.
toxicity at the end of the day is a poisoning of the system.
It is. Yes.
Poisoning of the system means it's breaking down, it's obstructing your flow, and it starts to create leaks through which your life energy starts to escape, basically. If you're thinking about somebody who gets poisoned. Does this mean that these systems themselves are bad? The idea, the concept is not. But I think it once again comes back to restoring balance, redefining the boundaries that,
Mm.
I will operate in this formula within this boundary. And thus, I think that's when we can start to tap into productivity, abundance, and happiness. If we figure out, like, if we go beyond this boundary, now it's becoming toxic. If we stay on under the boundary, then it's not effective. And then finding that balance between the harm and the heal is what I call is the
Oh,
art of
I
medicine.
love that. Oh, I love that. The harm and the heal. I'm gonna write that down. I love that. I
Thank
love
you.
that. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
that's one of my quotes.
I
That's what I
love
call
that.
is
I
the
also,
art
and
of
I'll
medicine.
attribute it to you when I use it. Like, I'm sure
Thank
I'm
you.
gonna use that at some point with a patient or a client or something. That's amazing.
Thank
I
you.
love that.
Thank you. But I think it comes back to that art of living too.
Mm,
Finding that balance between that thriving and non-existing is the art of living. I think it comes down to balancing. If you are in a capitalistic world, I think there are lots of positives in it. If we
yeah,
identify
the free
that it
market and yeah,
and then ideation,
creativity.
innovation,
Yes.
because that is a motivation we need to keep inventing, is that if we get the recognition in the form of praises, form of currency, form of, I don't know, recognition, and then seeing the impact it can have on others. It can be the positive. But then the negative boundary becomes when you are not paying attention to who you're harming in the process. You're not looking at enabling others to do the same by sharing your resources. That's when it becomes negative. So if we could take all these isms and figure out what works and what doesn't and find the balance in between, we will start to transcend again.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And I would, for my last, I guess, to close the full circle conversation, because I had this thought, and I would love your insight on it, because we've been talking a lot about balance, and this is maybe too, because I am unique, and I know, but I know you're, an entrepreneur, you're a doctor, you're a mom, you're so many things. And I found in my life, especially in my entrepreneurial journey, and I will say, it's easier for people in who have a day, like, work in corporate, or they're not their own boss, to have more structure. But I found in my personal journey, it's about balance, but my new, what I'm calling instead of balance, is my rhythm. Because for me, it's like I have accepted, like, I will probably be doing something for work or for my vocation every day, but it's because I love it and I am truly fulfilled. But I might do, like, my weeks don't look like the typical, 9 to 5. You know what I mean? I'm lucky that I have the ability to, maybe get my nails done on a Wednesday morning and not have to be on a call. But also maybe on a Saturday I have to, so it's just finding, I think, your unique rhythm and what works for you. Because as you know, we're also like cyclical, excuse me, is that like, we're based off cycles. We're cyclical, I can't, I'm saying that word wrong. I know I am. Um, but it's all about cycles and rhythm versus, and I think sometimes people struggle with balance is because they're trying to kind of almost fight their own cycle.
I think that's a very profound perspective, and I agree with you 100%. So oftentimes people will ask me, how do I do so much?
Yeah, I know. Okay, yeah,
And
yeah. People honestly hate to say it, Sarah. People ask me too, and I'm just like, good time management. That's what I say.
yeah, yeah. I would say time and energy management. And like the reason I brought that up is because I've ended up like creating this like formula, not formula, but like this set of things that helps me accomplish what I do. And definitely number one is mindset, giving yourself the permission to be
Yes.
like, I can do this and I'm okay with doing it. And if I don't do it, it's okay also.
Yeah. Yeah.
As long as like my task gets done, giving myself that time to not be micromanaged, but by my own self is one of the things. So I'll share that list real quick with the listeners. Maybe they'll
Yeah.
benefit from it. Before I get started on that one quote, if you want to put in the inside of your mind, I think we kind of stated it at the beginning. I don't remember if now or later or earlier, is that we don't create time, but we
Mhm.
can make time.
Yes, I like that. I
And
like
I
that.
think that goes with that like rhythm thing that you're talking
Yeah,
about.
I
And
like
you're
that.
absolutely right.
Yeah.
Um, we are cyclical beings, and you were saying the word very beautifully.
I know, I kept on saying it wrong.
Yeah.
I could, in my mind, I was like, Danielle, that's not how you say it, but I knew that, I was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I was
We're
doubting
not.
myself a little bit there.
No, you did great. We're not only cyclical beings individually, but also as a species, we're a cyclical being. That's a reason why history keeps repeating itself.
Yep.
And people who learn from history and others have a leg up. So it's very important to always be hungry for knowledge, as I like to call it,
Yes.
know
Curious.
more. Be
Yeah.
voracious appetite for knowledge. So,
Yeah.
anyways, coming back to my list, number one is triage or prioritize. When you have a lot of the things that you need to take care of, you kind of like at the ER,
Yeah,
how you triage who goes to see the doctor first, who can wait to see the doctor, or
yep.
can just be seen by somebody who's not an ER doctor and just be, discharged, move on, etc. So that's triage, and nobody should know that better than you. And you need to triage and allocate your resources of time and energy accordingly. So what I
Exactly.
do is I put the high energy activities earlier in the day or at a time when I may be more productive and lucid of mind. That's when I tackle the harder things, and things that are, not as important, they go later in the day or when I have lower energy. And one of the later things that I give myself is give yourself time. I'll come back to that. So triage and then batching is the next one. Batching is, if I'm doing multiple things, maybe I can do two things together. One of the examples I like to use is when I am cooking food, that is my time to catch up with family. So I'll call mom,
Yes.
grandma, etc. So I'm
Nice.
balancing the social need with the physical need for food and putting healthy things in my body.
Absolutely.
Third thing is on the list is delegate. Anything that can be done without you, delegate. And if somebody is depending on you, train them to become independent so they don't continue to be your burden. For
Mm,
example, my kids now are potty trained. They know how to clean themselves, but there
yeah,
was a time when they needed help.
absolutely.
So I had to teach my husband to give him permission to be like, let your kids learn, you know?
Yeah.
So that's one of the ways I will delegate. What's next? I mentioned be hungry for knowledge because the
Mhm.
more, as you said, you're your biggest project. You're the best project you'll ever work on. And so the more you know, the better you get at developing yourself. Um,
Absolutely.
and as you go and search for knowledge, you start to become surrounded by a tribe of like-minded people. That's another thing you need, is to be surrounded by people who are doing what you're trying to do because it tells you it's possible. If somebody has done it, that means that road can be walked by you and you can do it too. And then if I haven't mentioned the resource allocation earlier, I think I did.
Mm.
Control your flow, as you said. And your flow is your time, your energy, your it's others around you. That's what helps you do the multi-juggling thing.
Yeah.
What's next? So put yourself in a tribe. Accountability is another one. This is where I've found coaching comes really, really
Yes.
handy.
Yep.
I don't think we take advantage of it enough because we don't know about it enough. We only recognize it in the fields of sports and extreme things where
Uh-huh.
most
Where
people
it's very
can't.
performance based, very,
Yeah. And where most people don't understand or appreciate it. It's not a common thing. It needs to become a common thing
yes. And
because
I'm hoping it does. And you t so sorry, I didn't mean to cut
no,
you off
no, please
short.
go.
But that's actually it's so funny. I tell my therapist all the time, I'm like, I'm a coach, but I was like, I can coach anything, but essentially you're hiring me to hold you accountable. That like I have my what I the work I want to do with my clients and they come to me for that specific work, but I'm like, basically you're paying me to make sure you do these things, Like that's
And
what
why is that? It is because you will not take yourself seriously sometimes.
exactly. Yep.
It's easy to flake on yourself, but it's a lot harder to flake
When
on
somebody
somebody
else.
else,
Hmm.
especially because we have been trained our whole life to seek permission. And if you haven't reached that stage yet where you are good at giving yourself permission, I'm so sorry.
No, please do not apologize. No, it's all good. It's all good. He just wants to be featured. He can come and talk. That is totally fine.
No, he's just being he's off on his screen time right now, so he's being a little cranky. So yeah. So going back to what was I talking about? I love
We
getting
were talking
distracted.
about I apologize. I'm like it just kind of blanked. We were
No.
talking about
So,
oh geez. Now I'm having like a moment because
right, you're having a mom moment.
it's a later in the day for me. So like as you were talking about you do things early in the day, so do I
Yeah.
because my brain works really
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
well. By this time my brain is just like
And
kind of
talk about needing a village to raise a child. You become my village. You're sharing my mental
oh yes, yes,
distraction
yes. And
now.
I'm like, you know what it is? It's right on the tip of my brain. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
what were we talking
Yeah.
about? We were talking about
Let's backtrack. We talked about energy. We
so
talked
I just
about
said
delegation. That's going back too far, making time. Anyways, wherever it was, let me just start on the next thing.
yeah, we'll start on the next one. Perfect. I know. We're gonna listen
We
back
were
and be
talking
like,
about
oh, that was
coaching,
it.
right? We were talking about coaching, how it's important
Yes,
because
accountability. Accountability. Yes, that was it.
yes,
That
you
was
can
it.
flake on yourself, but
Yeah.
when you put your money into it, I think that is the
You
best
invest
way.
in it. Yep.
Yeah, that's the because we're so trained to seek for approval, because we don't know how to give ourselves permission, and we also think we want to spend only on things that gives us something.
Mm-hmm.
So spending is one of the best ways to convince yourself that you care about it, is what I've found.
Yeah, you're investing in it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because the money that you earned with your hard work and your time and your life energy, whatever you spend it on should be telling you this is what you care about. So if you're spending money on frivolous things that add no value, then you're undermining your own energy and yourself in many ways. So I think how we invest is a big testament and a reminder to ourselves. That's a different topic. I think we can go on
Yeah.
to.
Oh God, I could talk about that. I could talk about that like with you. We could actually, we could talk together for days, I'm sure.
I think we
Like,
should.
we could just continue talking. Like,
I
I
think we
love.
should start our like own joint podcast or something
We
and
should.
bring
Hey,
others.
I'm all for it. Like, I mean, if you we like, I like. And well, he said like either one of us needs one
Yeah.
more thing to do. But hey, like we'll figure it out.
I know, I know, I know. It's beautiful. So
I know.
I think I'll wrap up with saying that, there was that accountability is what coaching brings you.
Yes.
And make sure that you give yourself permission and time to just vegetate. I think
Correct.
vegetating is such an important part of restoring that balance. And I'm not
Mhm.
just saying meditation. Meditation is one of the productivity tricks for sure, but just allow your brain to just sit there. If you need to binge, binge.
Yeah,
If you need to
I
just
call it like it's
watch
like
paint dry,
disassociation kind of like that's what in the mental health world we call it disassociation. Like
dissociation.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
disassociation. It's like
Yes.
dissociate. It's
Disconnect.
just kind of yeah, like do it's okay to just like do mindless things. You know what I mean?
It's
Whatever that is for you.
Yeah, it's funny because all this time we were talking about connecting, and now
I
we're
know.
saying give yourself permission to disconnect, not just with others around you, but even from yourself. Like let your
Yeah.
brain just like do its thing.
Like let it kind of like, walk its own path a little bit and don't try to control
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, because we need to relax too. If you're just always in control, then a
No. Yeah.
different set of pathologies, aka anxiety, OCD,
Mhm.
etc., list goes on, alphabet soup can come up.
For sure. But Dr. Sarah, this has been such a wonderful, wonderful conversation. I'm sure I'll have you back because we could talk about literally a lot of things, but
I
I
would
just want to
love
thank
that.
you
Yeah.
so much for being
Yeah,
on.
thank you. Yeah, I enjoyed the show. I love talking with people like you, Danielle. It's just fun. Like we can keep going until
Oh,
our
we could
voice
talk
goes
all day.
away.
Yeah, we could go all day. But yes,
Yeah.
and thank you all of the listeners for listening. And as usual, you can find the Feeling and Healing podcast on Apple Podcasts as well as Spotify and YouTube.
Bye, guys. Thank you
Bye,
for
everybody.
listening.